Hello everyone, and welcome to Diablo Knowledge. My name is Boss Kong, and this is the first video of a multi-video series called The Basics of Items. This series of videos is primarily aimed at beginners or newer players who have little to no idea what they're doing and are just trying to wrap their head around items in the game and would like to know more so that they can make more informed decisions about items when determining upgrades either in the auction house or when playing self-found. This particular video is all about how to read the primary stats on gear. So let's get started. So you either just bought Diablo 3 or you've just reached level 60 and are wondering what your options are. You're looking at items and are probably confused as to what is useful and what is not useful. A couple questions keep popping up over and over again when I'm introducing someone to the game and they reach Inferno difficulty. How should I be looking at gear? How do I know if an item that I find is good? Well, one of the first things I believe new players should be made aware of is how to read the stats on gear and to know based on the actual item stat values and their combination if an item is more beneficial to you than what you are currently wearing in terms of stats and stats only. Too often I see players just looking at the life, damage, and protection values to see if there are green numbers there and then deciding based on that if the item is an upgrade for them. Can you tell by looking at these life, damage, and protection values if this item is an upgrade? Sure, it says minus 6900 DPS, but there could be other stats there that increase your efficiency that make that loss worth it, which would then make it an upgrade. You want to get away from using only those values to determine the usefulness of an item because they do not account for every stat, and they also do not help you to learn why an item may be good or bad for a particular build in specifics. Looking directly at the stats on an item and knowing how to read them and knowing which stats you should be looking for depending on the item slot may change your opinion of many items that you come across. There are multiple types of stats that can show up on items in their various slots, but when I refer to reading stats in this particular video, what I am really talking about is how to calculate the defensive bonuses you would receive from a piece of gear by having knowledge of each primary stat, strength, dexterity, and intelligence, and what their presence on an item really means. This is the first piece of knowledge that new players should know because it will help you a great deal when looting items and looking for upgrades on the auction houses to help balance your character's defenses. Let's go over each primary stat and what bonuses they provide. Strength. It adds % damage to barbarians, but 1 point of strength equals 1 point of armor for every class. Dexterity adds % damage to monks and demon hunters, but 1 point of dexterity equals % dodge chance for every class. Now, this works on a formula of diminishing returns. The exact amount of dodge chance you get from dexterity is determined by how much dexterity you have already stacked. The more dexterity you have, the less dodge chance you get from adding more. Let's go down to intelligence. Intelligence adds % damage to wizards and witch doctors, and 10 points of intelligence equals 1 point of resistance to all elements for every class. Now this is important. Now let's go over to strength and finding the true armor value of an item. To find the true armor value of any item, add the strength points on that item to the armor value at the top of the item window. Strength plus base armor equals true armor. Let's try some examples. How much armor does the following item actually have? Take a few seconds, look it over, see what you come up with. This item has 508 total armor. This is because it has 103 strength and 405 base armor. 103 plus 405 equals 508. Now, what if you added 3 flawless star rubies to the sockets? That's an extra 150 strength. How much armor does this item have now? Now it has 658 armor. Let's move on to a new example. How much armor does this item actually have? This item has 973 total armor. Now you could be thinking, wait, what? What about the plus 369 armor value on this item? Don't you need to add that in too? The answer is no, but let's see why. On all armor items, except for rings and amulets, the defensive stat plus armor is already calculated into the armor value at the top of the item window. Only when you are dealing with a ring or amulet do you need to add any strength value to a plus armor roll to know the item's true armor value. This is because rings and amulets do not have any armor on them by default, they have to roll it. Wait, so you're saying this item had 412 armor, then rolled 369 armor to arrive at the value of 781, and then you must add 192 strength to that 781 armor to arrive at 973 for the true armor value of this item? The answer is yes. Let's move on. Now, to find the true resistance to all elements value of an item, divide the intelligence value by 10 and add that value to the resistance to all elements value on an item. Another easier way of looking at this is place a decimal in front of the last number of an intelligence value on an item and add that value to the resistance to all elements value on an item. How much resistance to all elements does the item below actually have? Take a few seconds to look it over. This item has 84 resist all. Now, 125 intelligence divided by 10 is 12.5. Adding that to the 71 resistance to all elements already on the item gives you 83.5, which the game will round up to 84 resist all. Now, how much armor does this item have? This item has 635 total armor. Now you could be thinking, wait, why exactly would a barbarian be wearing these pants? Aren't they for a wizard or a witch doctor because the intelligence is higher than the strength? Not necessarily. In terms of damage, yes, these pants would benefit a wizard or a witch doctor more due to slightly higher main stat on the base item, not including any socketed gems. However, if no gems were socketed, this item would provide the same defenses to any class because each main stat doubles as a defensive stat for every class. Let's move on. How much resistance to all elements does this item have? How much armor does it have? This item has 100 resist all and 685 total armor. Now, why is this? Well, 200 intelligence divided by 10 is 20, and there's already 80 resist all on the item. 20 plus 80 is 100. The armor, you see plus armor at the bottom, but remember this information on the left. Let's move on. How about this ring? How much resist does it have? How much armor does it have? This item has 76 resist all and 263 total armor. 99 intelligence divided by 10 is 9.9 plus 66 resist all that's already on the item. You've got 75.9, or rounded up to 76 resist all. Now, you could be thinking, wait, you added strength to a plus armor roll? Well, remember this information on the left. Let's move on. How much resistance to all elements do these bracers have? But here's the catch. How much resistance to all elements do they have for a monk stacking the following single resistance, in this case, cold resistance, for the passive one with everything? Go ahead and take a few seconds. Now this item, for a cold resist monk, has 131 resist all. 60 intelligence divided by 10 is 6, plus the 47 cold resist, plus the 78 resist all already on the item. Now, this only applies to a monk stacking the selected single resistance, in this case, cold resistance, for the passive one with everything. If the character equipping this item is not a monk, then the equipping character would receive 131 cold resistance and 84 resistance to all elements. Now, the parentheses say 6 int plus 78 resist all, but really it should read 6 resist all from the intelligence. But I made a typo, and I'm not going to go back to change it. Anyways, if the monk's highest resistance was, say, fire resist, then the cold resist on this item would be ignored, and this item would only provide 84 resist all. And this concludes part 1 of the basics of items. In part 2, we'll be discussing the individual item slots and stat combinations and how they relate to each other in order to determine if an item is good or bad.